Hey everybody, this is JDGaming back today with a very special deck that is near and dear to my heart. We are taking a look at Gigavise for the Link era. Now some quick JD history. Power Tool Dragon was actually one of my favorite cards way at the beginning of Synchro era. Basically, I was playing casual, like traditional format stuff just with friends all the way through middle and high school, and then eventually somewhere along the way, right around 2008, maybe early 2009, just when Synchros were new, a new friend that I met showed me these interesting new white cards. I was like, what's going on? What is this? Because I was used to Elemental Heroes and all those crazy, 34 fusion monster fusion decks, right? But I found out about these Synchro monsters, and Power Tool Dragon was an immediate card I wanted to use because I was like, oh my gosh, I can go and search, Snatch Steal, Premature Burial, all this broken band stuff. But that was my first exposure to Synchro play, and then I started reading more into tournament coverage, actually started playing advanced format, and quite honestly, I don't know if I would have kept my interest in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or have started to make advancements towards what ultimately led to this channel had I not played Power Tool Dragon. So I'm very thankful just historically with my relationship with this game that I came across this card. And Gigavise has always been this really cool synchro heavy combo deck that I wanted to play, but it always was this problem with bricking, and there was this impossibility of playing this at any competitive level. Unfortunately, even with 𝐂𝐎𝐿𝐥𝐿, this thing is still not the most competitive thing in the world. But it does fix a lot of our problems, and what I found is it is such a fun deck to play. The ceiling on this thing is immensely strong, and it's kind of surprising. I was actually going to do a deck profile of this before Link era, ditched it because of inconsistencies, and now here I am just kind of playing around with it just for fun, I must say, but I've been having a lot of fun with it, so I wanted to share this build with you guys. So as usual, this is going to be a let's build. I'm going to go through all my choices, go through a little combo corner section near the end just to give you a taste of what this deck can do. Again, not the most consistent thing in the world. Don't take this to a tournament, but maybe if you play around for fun, maybe locals, depending on how competitive or casual it is, you might be able to sneak some really awesome plays in. It's just a blast to play, and it basically embodies what I think of as Yu-Gi-Oh! So if you want to just see the alphabetical profile, click the link in the description box or the comment section below. That timestamp should take you right towards the end. I always do that for all you people who want to just check that out. But then if you have any questions, you can check out the middle section of the video where I actually go through and build this deck for you guys. So without any further ado, let's build Gigavise. For starters, we're going to talk a little bit about the core engine of this deck and really what makes it Gigavise. So for those of you who've never heard of this deck, Gigavise gets its name from two key cards, Gigaplant, which is a Gemini monster. Oh my gosh, terrible subset of cards, right? And Supervise. So essentially, Gigaplant counts as a normal monster when it's on the field or in the graveyard until you spend a normal summon, just what you get every turn, once per turn, right? In order to go and gain its second effect as an effect monster. And that effect reads, once per turn you can special summon an insect or plant type monster from your hand or graveyard. It's interesting to note, it actually does have some support for insects. So you could do something with Gigaplant for, say, Trap Tricks, which uses both plants and insects. But usually you go and use it with that plant engine, use it for synchro summons, and the fact that it's able to summon from your hand means it doesn't target, because you can't target a card from your hand for its ability. Shields you from certain types of cards, or at least doesn't let your opponent know what you're doing with it. It's an all-around powerful card if you can get that Gemini effect off. And that's where Supervise comes in. It's an equipped spell that can only be put on a Gemini monster. It treats it as an effect monster and gives it its effects. And the best part is, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one of your normal monsters in your graveyard, which Gigaplant and other Geminis will count as in the graveyard, and then special summon it. So you could start to see the combos here. Essentially, if you equip Supervise to your Gigaplant, you get your Lone Fires, your Glow Up Bulbs, your Spore, whatever part of your plant engine you want, and if you make a Link or Synchro summon with it, you'll get your Gigaplant back, since Supervise will trigger by sending to the graveyard, and then you can make another play, or maybe equip another copy of Supervise to the plant and continue extending your combos. problem is, you can start to see here, we're playing cards that are kind of situational. That's where we start to get more of this fun aspect, but if it goes off, man, these cards are just awesome. In order to make the supervised part a little more consistent, we're going to be running actually 2 copies of Power Tool Dragon. But Power Tool Dragon is a generic level 7 synchro that lets you once per turn take any 3 equipped spells from your deck, could have any names the same or different, shuffle them up, and your opponent has to choose one of them randomly to give to you. They don't even get to look at it, but most of the time you're going for 3 copies of supervised to guarantee you get one to your hand, and then that will let you go and then equip your Gigaplant, bring back a tuner, usually the one that you used with Power Tool Dragon, and then continue on with your plays. And since Gigaplant's a 6 and you have level 1 tuners in Glow Up Bulb and Spore, it's very easy to use this to make Power Tool, then supply it with a supervised to continue going off with more Gigaplants. So we're going to be playing Power Tool Dragon as our main driver, but we can't just play 3 equip spells, and this is where you kind of start getting bricks to form just from having too many cards, you don't necessarily want to open with. But DDR, Different Dimension Reincarnation, is actually pretty good at synergizing with the rest of the deck. This is essentially Premature Burial from your Banish, so you can discard a card, anything, could be a spell or whatever else, maybe something you want in the graveyard like a monster, and then you're able to target a banished monster, summon it in attack position, and then if they're untethered from each other, then the other copy disappears as well. But the cool thing is now we have 6 equipped spells, 3 of each, so that you can search it with Power Tool whenever you want, and this works very nicely with Spore, who of course lets us banish a plant monster from our graveyard to then bring back with DDR and bring itself back. A lot of times you're banishing Lone Fire Blossom with Spore, which means now you can fetch it with the DDR. It becomes a level 4 tuner monster, which you can use with other level 3 monsters, make a Power Tool, fetch the DDR, bring back the Lone Fire Blossom, and do some other fun plays with that. And then, of course, alongside with the Spore, we have Glow Up Bulb as just a, generic level 1 tuner that is very easy to abuse and reuse, and then that Bulb usually turns that Power Tool into really strong powerhouses like your Crystal Wings and your other level 8 synchros. So, of course, you'll be playing 3 of these. You'll be playing the 1-for-1 and Foolish Burial as well, because this will help you get to your tuners, which could serve as either Synchro material, Link material nowadays, or even in a pinch serve as a tribute fodder for Gigaplant, and then, make your plays from there. And then don't forget, Lone Fire Blossom is also able to fetch out copies of Gigaplant to make that a little more consistent. So if you're able to draw into Supervisor, summon Power Tool some other way, you can just Lone Fire into that Gigaplant. But this is the core engine that we're working with here. Now, it wouldn't be a JD 2018 deck profile without the Predaplant engine, and I know I've been using it in everything these days, but this is another deck where it's just perfectly at home. It's a plant deck. You want these level 3 guys to banish for Spore so you can make Power Tool Dragon. Everything just fits together, so, just pray for me that this engine doesn't get hit in any way, because if it does, I'm just totally gonna have to figure out a new way to play Yu-Gi-Oh! But essentially, we're playing the Ophrys Scorpio at 3, we can access it with our Lone Fire Blossoms, and that lets us pitch a monster to go into Darlingtonia Cobra, which I like playing 2 of. I'll get to just why in a second here. But that will let us go and add a copy of Brilliant Fusion to our hand, which lets us send Lapis here with Trick Clown for a Gem Knight Seraphonite. So what does this combo do? Well, we have this, we pitch a monster to get a Darlingtonia out, and then that lets us Brilliant Fusion one of these Gem Knights, which lets us go for a free Trick Clown for 1,000 life, and then we get our Gem Knight Seraphonite for potentially another normal summon. So throw down like a Lone Fire Blossom or whatever else here, and you're able to go for bigger plays if you happen to have the hand for it. And this is important because we need all 4 of these different names for Saryuja Skull Dread. 3 very powerful effects, of course. Very briefly, powers up everything by 300 attack and defense if it's pointing to it and it's summoned there. You end up getting to special summon a monster every turn, so that can even be Gigaplant, doesn't have a level restriction, and that's huge for this combo. And then the third effect is when you have 4 cards, you draw 4 and put away all your dead cards. So that's why we play 2 copies of the Lapis, the 2 copies of the Darlingtonia Cobra, because This deck, with all of its bricks, lives or dies by whether or not it can filter its hand with the 𝐂𝐲. But once it does, we don't care about all these extra brilliant fusions, Darlingtonias, Ophirises, Lapises, whatever. We're able to go and build a huge hand, maybe that has Lone Fire for Gigaplant, maybe that has Soul Charge or whatever, and then combo off from there. You usually live or die by this card resolving, so we want to make sure we're able to get it as often as possible. And I found if you play one of either of these, usually I go like 2 of the Gem Knight and 1 of the Darlingtonia, it just doesn't cut it in this deck. You really want to make sure you're able to summon 𝐂𝐲 every single game because of how inherently problematic the other dead cards in this deck are. But we end up having some nice synergies here. Again, we're able to banish any of these level 3 plants for the ability of Spore, which turns into a level 4 tuner. And look here, that's why I chose Lapis, because the level 3 non-tuner here is actually the best to turn into our copy of Power Tool Dragon using that Spore. So yeah, it's not the best in terms of individual cards being extra dead weight that you might draw into, but you're able to make use of them through discards, synchro summons, and of course just shuffle them away with 𝐂𝐲. But ultimately, this is our engine, our supplementary support system here that goes and makes sure that we can get our Power Tool and Gigaplants onto the board as consistently as possible. To flesh out the main deck, I like playing this little supplementary plant engine here of Rose Lover, Mathematician, Super Solar Nutrient, and World Carat Weight Champion. So honestly, I was kind of afraid of playing this when Dandylion got banned, because usually what I did was Mathematician for Dandylion, plus your 2 tokens, and then you contribute off one of the tokens as a level 1 or 2 plant monster to basically use Super Solar Nutrient and get your Lone Fire Blossom out, and then you could just see how much advantage you gain from there. You can establish a Link monster, go for your Gigaplant or Tuner or whatever else, and make all your plays. You can't do that anymore, but I wanted to make sure I had something that was filler in this deck, kind of like Upstart Goblin, but that didn't hurt the consistency. I tried all these other things and it just wasn't cutting it out, so I ended up doing this kind of as a bunch of extra cards that you think don't work, but with all the other plants, I think it ends up balancing out in terms of utility and variety. So, Mathematician is of course Foolish Burial on legs. You summon it, send a level 4 or lower monster to your graveyard, and then you can claim its effects. So Rose Lover is our #1 target as long as you don't need a tuner. Usually you want the tuners to be summoned through Lone Fire or 1-for-1, so you can use them twice anyway. So our go-to is Rose Lover, who says you can banish her from the graveyard to special summon a plant from your hand, and if you do, it's unaffected by your opponent's trap effects this turn. So the cool thing with that is you could dodge neat things like Solemn Strike or anything trying to snare your monster or negate its effect, because it won't die and won't be affected by it. So that's pretty cool. But the big thing with this is now we can normal summon Mathematician, maybe as our extra normal for Seraph Knight, right? We're able to send our Rose Lover to the graveyard, banish her, and then if we had an Ophir Scorpio or a Lone Fire Blossom or anything else that's a plant, we can go and throw that onto the table next to Mathematician, and now basically Mathematician becomes 1-2 extra monsters depending on what setup we have in our hand, on top of that 4 free cards from the Ophir Scorpio combo you just saw. So we're actually able to build a field of 5 or 6 monsters before we get into 𝐂𝐲, and then that will give us a great launching pad to go off of into Power Tool Dragon and further plays. So I really do like it for that. Of course, you can use Rose Lover as just a level 1 non-tuner. You can bring it off of 1-for-1 if you want. There are a lot of little things you can do, just specific instances you'll see it and you'll be like, hey, I could use it for this little combo, and that's what we really use it for. And then World Carat Weight Champion kind of rounds things out. It's another target for Mathematician. It's a 1900, it's literally a Garnet 19-0, but if you have a plant in your hand or field that you don't want, you could pitch it to revive this card from the graveyard once per turn. And as a level 4 non-tuner, it has some interesting uses. You can easily turn this into a Stardust with Spore. You can easily use it as just a link material by getting rid of Ophir Scorpio and other Predaplants from your hand, or it synergizes with Rose Lover and your tuners as well. So this is just a package of 7 cards here that lets us fluff out the deck without actually hindering the consistency. And in some ways, it's actually a good way of doing it, because when you Lone Fire into Rose Lover, Glow Up Bulb, or Spore, you can hit that with Super Solar Nutrient anyway. So the cool thing is you essentially have 10 cards you can use with this thing. So if you draw it, it's probably live anyway. If you don't draw it, oh well, you got your rest of your engine going, and then you'll be able to make plays off of that. So that's kind of the tertiary, I guess, engine that goes along with the plants. And then to flesh out the rest of the deck, I like Soul Charge because this thing lets you put up the most insane boards. I'll show kind of what this deck can do without it, and then you can just use your imagination from there. Monsterborn is also awesome in this deck because not only is it able to pilfer cards from your opponent's graveyard to just annoy them, like steal their Seraph Knight and make plays, right? But this is a Synchro and Link-centric deck, so you're able to bring back entire Synchro or Link monsters to continue making plays, build up your Link monster, maybe like a Proxy Dragon, into a Firewall and make combos, or you're able to bring back Power Tool Dragon, bring back Glow Up Bulb for free, and then turn that into a Crystal Wing. So lots of really neat interactions with Monster Reborn as well. Don't forget, it's able to take full advantage of Synchros and Link monsters, so definitely this is a deck that it shines in. And then finally, for defenses, I like playing the 3 Ash Blossom and the 2 Ghost Ogre here. Ghost Ogre is mainly in here as a supplement to Ash, because when you're able to put this along with Crystal Wing and a Stardust in a lot of situations, that's going to just seal the game outright a lot of times. But Ghost Ogre is backup for Light Monster in case you need it for, you know, you drew Trick Clown, so you need it for Brilliant Fusion. Usually you won't, but every so often it happens. And then in other situations, don't forget Ghost Ogre and Ash Blossom are both level 3 tuners, so you can use them for Power Tool Dragon plays. You can use Ghost Ogre as a supplementary hand trap on top of on top of Ash instead of it. And there are a lot of other little things you can do with this card, because don't forget, Ghost Ogre also works from the field, even though we're not using it in Psychics, you know, just reviving it just as you do in that deck. Soul Charge and Monster Born, extra normal summon, a lot of different things you can do to bring this to the board if you want to use it, and then if you end up not using it, it's still live there as well. So that is the rest of the main, should be 40 cards here. And then, to finally finish out the extra deck, I like playing these 2 Link monsters, most likely going Proxy Dragon because it's just a cheaper version of Stardust if you don't have the proper monsters to make a level 8. Usually you're able to use this thing alongside of a free plant tuner or a Gigaplant that's used as material for Proxy, and then thanks to Supervise, he'll come right back here, so then that serves as the extra monster you can use to kill off instead of your entire board. So Proxy Dragon can sub in as a Proxy, actually, quite literally, for that Stardust Dragon and protect your Crystal Wing and the rest of your board. And then Underclock Taker actually pairs nicely with Black Rose Dragon, because, you know, you usually think of Black Rose Dragon as this big field nuke, but don't forget, in a plant deck, you can banish a card from the graveyard to have her flip one of your opponent's monsters to attack position and reduce its attack to 0. So you're able to do full damage through a defense monster with Black Rose, and then Underclock Taker's ability lets you do full damage through one of your attack position monsters your opponent has. So both of these basically give you complete coverage to maximize your damage output, and then Underclock's downward arrow gives you the benefit in the early game. You can just use that if you can't establish 𝐿𝐻𝐼𝐷𝐻 for some reason, and then summon into this zone, and then link this guy up later. Then, for some power plays, I also like playing the Borreload Dragon and the Firewall Dragon. So Firewall Dragon's quite good because when you summon 𝐿𝐻𝐼𝐷𝐻 here, and, you know, or Underclock Taker, and then you have things like Borreload, Proxy Dragon, Underclock, you know, all these arrows work in cardinal directions with it. You can usually set up a Firewall Dragon so that you're able to bounce away at least 1 card from your opponent, sometimes even 2 or more. And in those instances, that's obviously good because you're able to disrupt your opponent. But don't forget, if you start synchroing or link summoning using monsters that this card points to, you're able to go and summon more monsters from your hand. So you basically get extra 𝐿𝐻𝐼𝐷𝐻 effects thanks to Firewall Dragon, which is just absolutely insane. It's still a powerful one of in this deck because you're able to combo off of it so easily. And then Borreload Dragon is one of those cards where if you have no out to your opponent's board, the 3000 attack and the ability to steal your opponent's monster is usually enough to deal with whatever defensive setup they have. So not the best card turn 1. I guess it's immune to monster effects that target, but, you know, usually you bring this thing out if you're not going first, and then you just steal your opponent's monster and then own them that way. So I like that, plus its arrows are quite good no matter how it's summoned. And then, the last few Synchro monsters here. Ancient Fairy is our last level 7. This is obviously good if you're going against a field spell deck, because it lets you recover some life points. Maybe you tech in like Close Forest or whatever other crazy thing you want to do in the side. But main reason I like this is you're going for 7s in this deck anyway, and the ability to give up a battle phase for a free summon can help extend your combos. As a 7, she's easy to go into Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon with, which is really nice because 7, you bring out a Glow Up Bulb or Spore, you're able to synchro into this thing, and then this is a better card to end on. So if you're going first, you don't have the battle phase anyway, or if you soul charge, you don't have it anyway. So this is basically a play extender for this, who's able to put another wrench into your opponent's plans. Big thing is, of course, Crystal Wing does need a synchro non-tuner to be able to be summoned, but that's very easy to do because you're playing 7s and 1s everywhere here, so this card's a no-brainer. On top of that, I already mentioned Stardust Dragon. This basically protects you from Raigeki and other field wipes. On top of that, Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend is kind of like Borreload. You use this to fight your opponent's established board, and in some weird situations, you can burn your opponent to death because you have so many free special summons that you can just destroy all those guys and deal extra 500 damage apiece. Then we have Cyframe Lord Omega, mainly because this card is just amazing in any deck that can summon 8s, which this deck of course does. And then Trishula is just too good not to play. You have so many free low-level monsters that you can tune together to make this thing. Nowadays, it's even better because you can get so much advantage from striking a key card out of your opponent's graveyard. On top of course, hitting a hand in field was always good. So these are just the monsters I like rounding things out with. But if you wanted, I guess you could switch out some of the things like Underclock Taker is kind of optional. You don't necessarily need it. Usually I go for Proxy, but I'm keeping it just in case because I feel like there's going to be a situation where it comes up kind of like the Black Rose damage finisher. Ancient Fairy Dragon honestly could be something else, could be another Link monster, could be a different Synchro monster. Trishula, you don't have to go for all the time because, quite honestly, it is a bit of a stretch sometimes to go for it. Usually you're going for 7s and then into 8s through them. Trishula is, I think, just easy enough and powerful enough that it's worth playing. But yeah, these are just my thoughts here. Definitely room for customization in the extra, depending on what you want to go for. That'll help you in your environment. Alright, boys and girls, just as promised, this is a combo corner segment of this video, a JD first, where we're going to go and basically play a hand blind for this deck, because I know there are a lot of 2, 3, 4, 5 card combos with Soul Charge for all the insanity, but it's one of those decks where depending on what pieces you have in every spot and when you draw them, the path of this direction can change radically, and I feel like you get a better feel for what this deck is like if I play a totally blind hand. So apologies in advance for all the mistakes I'm about to make. Yes, I'm a scrub, but that's why I'm playing plants. Let me know down in the description or in the comment section below, can't even say that right, what I should have done in all these steps to make like the most broken board ever. I'm kind of curious to see what the best situation would be. If you're a purist in layout, I play like this normally too, but I'm saving your retinas from glare here, so we're going to do that for now, and just because of camera setup. So let's see, I'm going to draw 5 cards because I don't like to win, and yeah, we're going to see what we're able to do here. This is actually pretty broken, so we're just going to go off with that. So let's say I go Lone Fire Blossom, sack Lone Fire, and usually no matter what happens if I draw Lone Fire, I go for one more Lone Fire. Why? Because if you have Spore, you banish one for DDR and you still have one for the Gigaplant, so that lets us go and make big plays later. So we're gonna go set 2. Why not all 3? Well, in this deck you actually play plants, so if you keep the 3rd one here, 𝐂𝐎𝐿𝐥𝐿 can let you draw into it when you need. And actually, I take that back. We're not gonna play this one right now. We're not gonna play this. I forgot from talking. We have Super Solar Nutrient, right? So Lone Fire into the where is it? The Rose Lover. There she is. So now we play this, and then we're going to go and send her to the grave for Super Solar to summon the Lone Fire because this is within 3 levels of level 1. Then we're going to use that. That's our second Lone Fire for the Ophrys Scorpio. Oh no, we have to send our Ash Blossom to the graveyard. That's actually kind of unfortunate because it does add a lot of defense to our combo, but whatever. We get this, we promptly activate this, and that lets us go and send Lapis. I think it is, yeah, Lapis, along with our Trick Clown as a free monster. And you can see here, we don't even have a free card that we can normal summon here to take advantage of the Seraph Knight, but that's totally fine because this deck is just insane like that. As long as you drew Ophrys, you pretty much have an insane board. So here's that, and now we're going to use all 4 different names, and that will let us go and wombo combo into our 𝐂𝐎𝐿𝐥𝐿. Alright, so we get this, draw 4. You know, pick a color after that. Looks like green's the color of the day. We're going to keep Gigaplant and Supervise and probably Glow Up Bulb at this point because now we're going to put all these back. These are all searchable, so we don't want them anyway. Brilliant Fusion we'll never want to play again this turn, anyway, this game. So we'll put that away. That's our hand. Alright, so what do we do here? Cool thing is we sent that Rose Lover to the grave, so now I can special this, Supervise it, and then I can go and revive Lone Fire Blossom, and then I can tribute Lone Fire Blossom to put Spore into play, which will, you know, do some crazy shenanigans by coming back as a level 4 monster later. And maybe even doing some things with DDR here. So we're going to go and sync the two of these. That's 1 plus 6 is 7, ladies and gentlemen. So we get our power tool who gets powered up. You're not missing anything. It's all ghost here anyway. So get a free search. I'm going to choose my 2 supervises and a DDR, which will let me go and, you know, actually forgot. This is mandatory. You get the Gigaplant back. That's why I'm choosing supervise. All right, so, you know, if you're like me and most of the time your brother's away and you have no one to play with, you know, you're alone, what you do is you play, you ask Siri, you know, your one and only, to go and choose 1 to 3, and then that'll help you go and, you know, randomly choose. You could obviously play a simulator or play against real people, but, you know, sometimes you don't have that. Then I recommend Yugipedia, which is this app I've been using. Has nothing to do with Yu-Gi-Oh! Wikia for whatever reason, but yeah, we got that 2/3 chance, right? But Yugipedia is pretty interesting. I'll probably do a video on it. It lets you build decks and test them on the go, so it's really, really cool, and that's actually how I like testing decks like this out, where you're solitaring and your opponent probably doesn't want to play against you anyway, except for those crazy Yu-Gi-Oh! Moments. So now we get to supervise. What does that do? Well, that brings back our Spore, and then this is a level 1, so now we can turn Spore and Power Tool Dragon into a level 8 Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Again, so white that you can't see it here, so whatever, doesn't matter that you can't see that. And then now we want to be able to go and make plays with things. So what are we gonna do, guys? What are we gonna do? How about we banish the Rose Lover? That'll let me summon my Glow Up Bulb, and then I could send the 2 of these, and then that will let me go for another Power Tool Dragon, right? Because that's still level 7. Gigaplant comes back, and now I get to go between DDR, unfortunately, and Supervise. So 1/3 chance. Probably not going to get anything useful out of this because, you know, odds are against me. But, you know, this is Yu-Gi-Oh! So we're just going to go and do this. If I had a die on my desk, actually, I do have a die, so we're going to do that. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So let me grab that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got a 1, so we're getting this card. It's a DDR, of course. So we did that. You know, that's another way. If you're alone, you can use dice. And let's see. From here, we still haven't used Bulb. We still haven't used Spore. So there are a lot of things we could do here. Let's see. We're going to mill 1 for Bulb. Oh, no. Soul Charge is gone. But oh, well, that's fine. And then that's going to let us go and turn the 2 of these into a Stardust Dragon. And then now we can just go and banish that Spore for a level 2, or banish the Glow Up for a level 2 Spore. Turn the 2 of these into something, and then that will let us go for, I don't know, let's say Omega. But like, this is an example. No Monster Born, no Soul Charge. We're able to do this. Wish this were a hand trap, to be honest. But now we could stop a monster, steal a card, and stop Raigeki and Dark Hole, which is pretty good. But like, this is the type of thing you're able to do. If you have Soul Charge, there are a lot of situations where this ends up being Firewall Dragon instead. So now you can bounce a monster and protect your board and go and kill a card. And sometimes you have an Ash Blossom with that in your hand. Honestly, this deck is the perfect example of gambling in this game. Like, sometimes you hit a jackpot and it's like this, or I guess you hit Soul Charge and then it's more of a jackpot. Sometimes you get little payouts like this. Other times you totally brick and you can't do anything. But this is why you play this deck for fun. You're able to do these crazy things every once in a while, and you're not rewarded enough that it feels like, you know, oh, this is what my deck's able to do all the time. So if you're looking for something totally random that's fun and able to do some, you know, crazy shenanigans like this, then this is the deck you might want to consider playing, maybe. But yeah, let me know down in the comments for sure all the ways I messed up and how much better of a board this can end up being if you played it your way. If you watched the video in its entirety, thanks! Hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing this deck as much as I did playing around with this monstrosity of a brick, trying to make it as consistent as possible. We tried, boys. If you guys have any suggestions on how you like to play this type of Gigavise combo deck, then let me know your ideas down below, and we can kind of tweak it together. But we'll see what I have so far. So we have triple Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring and double Ghost Ogre, double Gigaplant, lone Glow Up Bulb, triple Lone Fire Blossom, a pair of Mathman, Perform Age Trick Clown at 1, double Darlingtonia Cobra, and triple Ophrys Scorpio, a lone Rose Lover, Spore, World Carat Weight Champion, and a pair of Gem Knight Lapis. Then we have for spells triple Brilliant Fusion, triple DDR, Foolish Burial, Monster Born, 1 for 1, Soul Charge, triple Super Solar Nutrient, and triple Supervise for our 40 card main deck. And then for our extra deck, we have Proxy Dragon and Underclock Taker are our Link 2s, then Borreload, Firewall, and Saryuja Skull Dread as our Link 4s. For level 7 synchros, we have Ancient Fairy Dragon, Black Rose Dragon, and Double Power Tool Dragon. For 8s, we have Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, Psyframe Lord Omega, Scarlight Red Dragon, Archfiend, and Stardust Dragon. And then the Mighty Trishula at level 9, and then finally our Gem Knight Seraph Knight is our Brilliant Fusion target. That's the end of this video, but if you'd like to see more of this series, you can click the annotation on the right, or you can see the last video I did by clicking the one on the left. If you enjoyed, I encourage you guys to leave a like and share it with others you think who may enjoy it as well. And if you'd really like to see more updates, then subscribe to JD Gaming for more Yu-Gi-Oh videos. Thanks guys, this is JD Gaming, hope you guys enjoyed as always, and I'll see you guys next time.